Hey, folks, it's Dave here in Studio B, and we have more APBA football talk here on the channel. I've got a couple of questions from people. They were asking about APBA football and some of the basics and how to play and some general questions. And then I saw some questions out in the wild on Facebook and on the text line and on email and the whole bit. And I thought it'd be easier just to come on to you and talk to you today about it than instead of trying to type in everything I want to say here about APBA football. Okay. Uh, APBA football is probably at the top of my games that I enjoy playing. I don't get to play it as much as I'd like to, but as you guys know, I really love APBA football, and I have since I got it. I had a rough start setting it up, but that was kind of all on me. But once I just put it on the table and play it, I absolutely love it. And I have what about 4, 5, or 6 long play football games that I enjoy playing here on the table, and APBA's right up there at the top of all of them. Now, one thing that gets asked a lot, okay, I got a little presentation here, okay, to keep me on focus here. Time to play. A lot of people say, well, how long does it take to play a game of APBA football? Well, it's going to take you, and now you're going to shock everybody here, it's going to take you over 2 hours to play this game. And at first, I was like, "Oh, I ain't playing a game like that. That's way too long." But let me throw the facts out at you. Okay, the facts is you're playing. Each play is about 30 seconds long, so you're gonna get what's that? 30 plays a quarter, right? 15-minute quarters at 30 seconds. You get 30 plays a quarter. 4 quarters. It's a minimum of 120 plays you need to resolve. Each play takes roughly a minute to resolve. So that's 120 minutes of gameplay. There's really not much way you can cut that down. Some people, yeah, if you get in the groove and you get playing, you can play a little bit faster so it doesn't quite take you a minute to resolve everything. But I got going at a pretty good clip, and I think I did a quarter one time in 25 minutes, going at a pretty good clip with not getting stuck and running into a lot of problems, okay? It all depends on the plays, too. If you call a lot of runs resolve like that if there's no penalties or fumbles. You get into passes, it takes a little bit longer. You get into interceptions and penalties and the whole bit. Now it's going to take you more than a minute to resolve. But keep in mind that you're going to have about 120 plays to resolve if you're going to do a long play-by-play football game. And that goes for any of them. I think Ron would probably agree with me, and I agree with Ron, that the fastest of all the ones that I play, there's a lot of them, but the ones that I play, the fastest is probably Solitaire Pro Football. I think that one, I did a game in an hour and a half one time. So I was able to shave about a half hour off the time because you're flipping those fast action cards. It's okay, here's the play, here's who the ball's going to, here's the defense, what's the result, boom. And you can resolve a play kind of quick that way too. And again, if you're keeping full stats in the whole bit, if you're using the helper, if you're writing things down, it's going to get kind of, the time's going to be, you add more time for the more detail you want to add to the game. But if I'm just playing a game and I'm not worried about stats, and I'm just looking to, get down in distance and see where I am, it's going to be, you're going to be in that 2-hour range for this game. Clay's new game, Season Ticket Football, that plays a little quicker too, not quite as fast as Solitaire Pro, but it does play a little quicker than APBA. You might shave 10 to 15 minutes off the total time. Second Season from Play is another one that I do. That's probably up there with the amount of time it takes to play an APBA game. And then Grant's 49 Quick Text Football, you're probably at the same length as an APBA game too. But if you're trying to shave 5 or 10 minutes off a long football game, then you're not you're in the wrong building. You should go play a drive-by-drive game is what you should do. So if you're going to play the long play football game and you're going to resolve 120 plays, give or take, or 130 plays, which I think is what you aim for, you're in this. You're in for a penny, you're in for a pound. So, buckle up and enjoy the ride, or just enjoy it. So if you're trying to find a game that plays quick, APBA football and all these other games I mentioned are not for you. They don't play quick. They're meant to be long play and enjoyable. And like I told someone too, you can't watch 60 minutes in a half hour. If you're going to sit down and watch 60 minutes live, it's 60 minutes. And that's kind of how it is with this game here. So as far as time to play goes, it's going to be a bit, okay? And this, see in the chat room here, yeah, football is long to play, and it is. And that's just all you can do, And so that is that. Now, my next topic here is starting lineups. And some people say, well, what do you use for starting lineups? Okay, I'm going to tell you what I do. Okay, so let me share my screen here. So for some reason, okay, don't ask me why. Let me see if I can hide this on my screen here. Okay. For some reason, I got the itch to play the 1975 Vikings. So I have my 75 set ready to go, and I'm going to have them play the Cleveland Browns. Now, if you look here on week 2, they play the Cleveland Browns at Cleveland. So if I go to Pro Football Reference and I click on the box score, okay, and then I scroll down, it's going to tell me the score. So obviously the Vikings destroyed the Browns 42-10. It gives you, all the information about the game. Then you scroll down, you get the scoring and the game info. And this is what I'm looking for down here, the starting lineups. Okay. So I have the Browns starters on offense and defense and the Vikings starters on offense and defense. That's where I'm going to start. I'm going to get my starters. I'm going to take my envelopes with my teams, pull them out on the table, and that's where I start. So those are my 11 starters on offense and defense for both teams. Okay. Now, what also I like to do is, aside from the starting lineups, you're going to need some extra players. So if I scroll up, okay, I'm going to see who carried the ball and who ran the ball. So there's my passing, rushing, and receiving. So I see that Tarkenton was the main quarterback for the Vikings, so I will start him as he started. If game gets out of hand, I could put in Bob Lee. But then down here it shows you who's going to rush the ball. So we had McClanahan, Foreman, Marinaro, Osborne, and Miller. These guys all carried the ball. Okay, so I want to put all these guys in the game somehow to see if I can get them a carry, with McClanahan and Foreman getting the most. And then as far as receiving, all these guys receive passes. So I want to make sure all these guys are in the game, or at least off to the side. And I'm going to try to get them all some passes, obviously with Gilliam targeted the most. And the same with Cleveland. All right, so Mike Phipps was in the game, as is Sipe. It doesn't say really who started. Oh, it does say who started the game, right? It says that Mike Phipps started the game. So Phipps started the game. Things weren't going well. Then Sipe came in, okay, and they even tried Willie Miller tried a pass. Looks like he completed that pass with 26 yards. Must have been a trick play, if you will. But then again, over here it shows you who carried the ball and who received the ball. All right. So these are some of the guys. If they're not in the starting lineup, I will put in the starting lineup. So as far as getting your starters in the game and the extra players, that's kind of how I do it. Is I look at my starters on Pro Football Reference. That's who's going to start the game. I'm going to throw in these guys on my table to see who got the passes and the rushes in the game. And then lastly, I come down here and I look at my kickers and punters. I want to see who's kicking and punting. And then I want to see who does the kick returns and the punt returns on each team. So I look over here. So Bobby Bryant, he received a punt. He's actually the only punt of the game. So he'll be my top punt returner. And Brent McClanahan returned a couple of kick for return. So he'll be my top kick returner. It doesn't matter what the lineups say. That's what I'm going to go. So I'm going to try to start as close to as played as possible. And when I look down here to Cleveland, it's the same thing. Who got the punts? Who got the kicks? So Eddie Brown got most of the kicks. He'll be my top kick returner, if you will. And then down below, we have our punters and our kickers. Looks like Don Cockcroft did all the kicking. He did all the extra points, the field goals, and the punts, whereas Fred Cox did the kicking and the punting was done by Neil Clabo. So that's how I handle my lineups here. And now, as far as extra players. Now right here, okay, is so right there, this is the type, the point of the game where you want to insert anybody you want to put in. So if you were playing a particular game and so-and-so didn't start, and you're like, well, I want to have him start the game, this is where you would put him in. So you take your team and whatever guy was in there, you take him out, you put in the guy you want, and then you'd have your starting lineup, and that is that. Okay. So that's how I get my starting lineups. I usually do an as played game. I get the starters, I put them in the 11 offense and defense on each team, throw in my extra players, and now those are all the guys that are going to be in my game. That's kind of how I do it. Now, if you're playing, let's say, a team from 76 and a team from 86, then you can just put in whoever you want at that point. You can go to the starters. Now, APBA here, let me just kind of show this right here, and let me maximize that. If you were to go to, download the sheets from APBA here, this is 1978, it shows you, who the better guys are here for Baltimore on offense and defense. So it's going to, the guys in the bold here, I believe, are your starters, okay? So if you were playing 78 Baltimore, you can get an idea who you're going to start, okay? So APBA gives you this if you want to use that as well. So I really do like that. So there's a couple of ways of doing that. So now, okay, so now that I've got we'll swap that up here. So now that I've got my starting lineup, you need to get your numbers here, your team point total, okay? So I'm going to go over here, offense and defense points is my next thing. So as you can see here, if this guy here, Yari, was playing tackle, he would have a 5. Okay, so I would have my offense here, my 11 guys. I would look at the position and the number. You get all the numbers, and that's my offensive rating. Let's say it's a 35. Okay, just say it's a 35. You do the same for the offense and defense. You get your numbers. You do the same for the other team, and then that's where you cross-reference them. Okay, so you get your offense and defensive points. Now this is where I kind of split off from most of the APBA veterans, okay? And they kind of cringe when I do this sometimes. My starting lineup, as you saw when I was back on Pro Football Reference, okay, I pick my 11 guys, okay? And I go in here and I get the numbers. As you saw, I get the numbers off of them, okay? So if I'm on Cleveland, alrighty, and I have Hutchinson as the guard. He's a 3. He's my guard. He's my 3. And those 11 guys, that is my number for the entire game. If you follow that. So you add up the numbers of your 11 guys. That's what I do. You get your number, 35. It's usually between 30 and 40 or sometimes 35 and 45. Whatever that number is, that's it for the game. As far as bringing players in and out on third down or third and long or this and that, and that'll change, because if you bring in a receiver and a back goes out and the receiver is higher or lower than the back, that's supposed to change that number. To keep it simple for me, I don't do that. I go with my starting lineup. I get my number. That is my number for both offenses and both defenses, and I don't change that. For me, it's just simpler. It's the game is long enough. I don't need to keep changing that number. So I don't need this 35 to go to 36 for one play while I bring in somebody. And then on the defense, maybe it goes down 1 because I bring in an extra linebacker. And then on the next play, I flip it back. That is, for me, that's a lot. Some people do that and they love it, and that's great. For me, keep it simple. I'm looking to have fun with this game. I don't take it so serious that I'm worried about the guys coming in and coming and going. I get my 11 players, I add up the numbers, and that's it for the game. The only time I will change that is if I do change quarterbacks. Okay, for whatever reason, if I change a quarterback, he's most likely the guy coming in is less. So if he comes in at 1 or 2 points less, then yes, I will change the offensive rating at that point. If I play injuries and somebody gets hurt and I bring in someone, I will change it as well. But as far as the game goes, as far as guys coming in and coming out for different plays, that to me, that's a little too complex. It's too time consuming, and it's not going to add enough value, at least for me, right, for me to do that. So some people are asking about that. What do you do about players coming in and out? I get my starting lineup. That's it. Okay, so as far as my offense and defensive points, I go with my starting 11, and no matter who else plays, except for an injury or if I bring in an extra a different quarterback, it doesn't change. All right, so hopefully that made sense. Now, calling offensive plays. That was something else that somebody was asking about. Couple ways you can do it. I think the APBA way to do it is you really just want to call the play. And what I like to do, okay, let me get rid of this and let me go back to this. What I like to do as well, again, because I usually like to play the as-play games. So I'm going to come up here, all righty, and I'm going to look at the passing attempts compared to the running attempts. So it looks like they tried 32 passes And over here, what's that? 23, 24, 32. What's that? 38. So 38 runs to 32 passes. So they did a little more running than they did passing. That's Minnesota. So I would figure out what percentage that is. There's a way to do that, to add the total plays and divide by this. And so right now it looks like it's probably about 55-45 rushing to passing. So I'm going to try to rush a little more than I am going to pass. Now over here, with these guys here, it looks like they were trailing. So they did a lot of passing. So they have, what's that, 29 passes, and that's way more than this. Okay, they only ran about 23 or 24 times. So it looks like they got down early and went right to the pass. Okay, usually they're going to do more running. Yeah, you see how they're down by 21 at the half. So they probably did a lot of passing in that second half. But I try to look at that to give me an idea on what they did during the game. Now, if it's a close game, it's going to be a little bit easier to figure that out. A blowout like this, you got to figure, all right, they went to the pass a little bit earlier than I thought. But I think for the most part, 60-40, 55-45 is kind of what you're looking at run to pass ratio, at least from 1975. If I were to go to a newer game, or a more modern game, I should say, something, in the Tom Brady era or even the last couple of years, it might be more passing. So I would call the play and I would try to go a little bit more heavy on the pass. That's what I would do. I also, what I like to do, and I think I talked about this earlier, if I look at the Vikings, as far as receiving, looks like Chuck Foreman had the most passes thrown to him, or at least the most receptions. So I would try to go to him, and then Marinaro, and then Gilliam. So these are the three guys I would target the most in the game. And if I look down at Cleveland, if I'm throwing the ball, it looks like it's going to be Pritchett and this Oscar Roan. They got the most receptions, so I'm going to throw to them the most. As far as handing the ball off, Pruitt had the most attempts, so I'll give it to him the most, followed by Pritchett. And for the Vikings, as far as rushing, looks like McClanahan and Foreman carried the mail the most there. So I'll try to gauge my offensive play calls on what happened during that game, and that just kind of gives me a feeling like I'm playing that game, if that makes any sense. Okay. The other way you could do it, okay, if you didn't want to kind of call it by hand, the other thing you can do is borrow from other games. Okay. So what you could do is you could, if you have, so this is 1975. So if I have 1975, let's say, in Solitaire Pro Football, I could pull out their cards. I could flip and get the play from that. 49 Quick Text Football does the same thing. You flip the cards and you get the play. Season Ticket Football, the same thing. You roll the dice, you get the play, and then you just turn that into APBA. There's even a finder in there too. I think Second Season is the same thing. You can have it all automated. So you can borrow from another game if you have the season to get the play called automatically if you like. So that's another way of calling offensive play. So if you don't want to call it, then you can kind of borrow from another game, because I didn't see it a way that APBA does automatic play calling. I think people have come up with some ways, but it would be similar to these other games I mentioned by borrowing from them. Okay, so that's how you do the offensive plays. Now, for defense, a couple different ways of doing it. Okay, and I'll get to the chat room in 1 second. I see the chat room's jumping. I'll jump in 1 second, but I just want to show. I want to show the defensive play calling here before I forget what my train of thought is. All right, so if I go to my, then we'll swap that up. There we go. So if I go to my defensive play calling, and these are my cards here I got from Chris White. This decoration, but I love them. I really do. A couple different ways to do it. This comes with the game, and this works out really well. The alternative defensive chart. So this is going to assume that you know what index you're in. If you're in A, B, or C index, it's called. So on a running play, you would roll the dice, and so let's just say our defense was 35. On a running play, it's going to tell you, are we in G, which is ground, S, standard, or D, it's deep, or kind of a pass defense. So this chart works out really well. Again, call your offensive plays, look to the down and distance. Does that change anything? Yes or no? If not, you can use this. And then you find the defensive point. So again, we were 35. You roll the dice, and it's going to tell you what the defense is playing. This actually works out pretty well. Okay, I've used this when I first started. I didn't mind it. And then you have your automatic settings over here. So if it's second down and 10 or more, you're going to play deep. If it's third down and 7 or more, you're playing deep. Fourth and short, ground, and inside the 2, it's ground. So these are kind of the automatic settings here. But again, this is for your runs and your passes. So this way here, you can have the defense called automatically for you. So this works out really, really well. What I like to use, okay, what I like to use is this right here. These, I think they were 10 or 15 bucks. This is the defensive calling cards. So what's going to happen, okay? And it goes from minus 25 to plus 25. So what's going to happen is the better your defense, the better your card's going to be for you. So, for example, Minnesota offense, let's just say they're 40 and Cleveland defense is 30, just throwing out some numbers, okay? So the Cleveland defense is going to be a minus 10. So when we start to play, I'm going to roll the dice, and depending if it's a run or a pass, it's going to tell me what defense is called. So let's just say we're going with a run. Okay, so I'm going to roll the dice. I get 66. That's the best roll. So they're going to be in a B index, and they're going to play G ground. So that's the best roll they can get as minus 10. So they're going to be playing ground with a B index. A, B, and C. Obviously, A is the best for the offense. B is middle. C is the best for the defense. So I like to use this card here. And why I like it is because you see how it's got some A's on here, and it's got some B's, and it's got some C's as well. What I like about this card here is it gives me variety. Okay. I like the variety that this card offers me. So I'm not always in A, B, or C index. It could be any one of the three. And again, some people don't like to use this. It's, whatever. My reasoning is I like things that not be so static. So if I call a run, and I get a bad roll on defense, somebody didn't make a play on defense, or somebody did make a play over here that caused this to be such a bad defensive call. Maybe the coach called it in wrong. Okay, so I like to use this card here because it could be anything. It really could. Now, just to kind of show you how this works, all righty. So if your defense is horrendous, okay, and I've never come up with a 25 before, okay, if your defense is horrendous, you're going to be in A index all the time. What that means is when you look at the table here, all righty, so I'll go to my table, okay, so if we're looking at the chart here, okay, and we're in A, okay, see A3 is 25, B3 is 21, and C3 is 17. A is always, most always going to be best for the offense, okay? So if you got a bad defense and you're in A all the time, that means it's good news for the offense. So you want to have a positive card to try to keep it out of the A. Now, conversely, if your defense is smothering, and the 85 Bears against the 76 Buccaneers might be a good example of that, it's all C's. So the offense can never get into A index because the defense is so smothering. They're going to be reading off of the worst column all day long, C. So again, A, B, C, the best for offense, medium, the best for defense. And as you can see, the cards kind of show that here. Again, if you're positive, you're going to get more C's, and if you're negative, you're going to give more A's. So again, it kind of, I love this. And again, the reason why I do like that is because it's going to give you variety, and you're not always in the A index. You're not always in the B index. You're not always in the C index. So I do like that a lot. Now, one other thing I wanted to bring up about this card here. I use this almost exclusively now, I guess I would say. This chart here was okay, but again, you're locked in the A, B, and C before you get to here. This here, I just like how, even on one of the middle cards here, so if I go to like -2, you see how there's A, B, and C on here as well. So even -2, which is almost an even Steven type of offensive defensive matchup, you can still get some variety here. And I like the fact that it's going to call ground, deep, or standard as well. So you roll the dice and you see what the automatic defensive is calling. So maybe they guess it wrong. Maybe you're running, okay, so you're going to go pass. They roll a 32 and they're looking for a run because they have a CG here. So they're looking for a run. So, but again, you're reading off the C, so they're going to have a good defense in there, but they're still playing for the run, not the pass. So I really like these cards here. I use these. They weren't that expensive. And so for defensive calling, that's what I use. Now, if you looked over here, I kind of borrowed from this right here. All righty. So again, if it's 2nd and 10, I'm going to be deep. So no matter what I roll here, this B, what is it? The G, S, and D, ground, standard, and deep. It's always going to override the deep. 3rd and 7 or longer, it's going to override the deep. So no matter what I roll on the card, I'll get the index, A, B, or C, but I'm always going to go deep. 4th and 1 and inside the 2, I'm staying ground. So there's a couple things. So I basically copied this onto my notes here, and that's what I'm going to use for that. So hopefully that explained the defense. I probably did a pretty bad job of explaining that. But these defensive cards here, I really like. Again, you can be in either A, B, or C defense, and you don't know what the defense is calling. Are they calling standard? Are they calling a run? Are they calling a pass? So I really like that. The other thing you want to get, okay, is you want to go to the OGuard site, OGuard 62. Look up OGuard 62 for APBA. And you want to get these things here, okay? This chart I got from his site, it's the squib kicks and the quarterback sneak chart. Okay, that's what you want to get off of his site. There's really no way to squib kick an APBA, and the quarterback sneaks at the inside run. They've done a great job of this. And again, APBA football, it's as simple or as complex as you want to make it, and the more complex you make it, the more fun it can actually be. Again, I like to use my defensive cards here. Okay, that makes it a little bit more complex, but for me, it's worth it. As far as, again, moving the players in and out on every play, not worth it for me. This here, I think, is worth it. The squib kicks and a quarterback sneak chart, I like this. I use this a lot. So that's one thing I would recommend getting. And also, this is my other cheat sheet here. This is like invaluable. The kickoff coverage, the kickoff returns, the field goal, the punt coverage. It tells you what's going to happen. So on a kickoff return, if something happens, it tells you who to look at. Use an up back OC carded player. Go to the guard. So if something happens and it's not going to be your main guy or your secondary guy, it tells you who it is. So on a field goal attempt, if something crazy happens, it lists everybody here that you're going to look at. The same with punt coverage. I really like that. Now over here, this is just my notes when I set up my team from 1 to 11. Offense and defense. It reminds me who is what. So if there's an interception by D9, it's my right cornerback. If there's a fumble and it's an 04 falls on it, then I know it's my center. So I have my little cheat sheets here that I like to use in the game here. So I got these from the OGuard 62 site. So there's a lot of things you can add to the game that I really like to do. Again, as far as the master game goes, I do use a couple of things on the master game, and I've highlighted them here. This helps me figure out on all pass plays, any number above 25 is a complete pass for a loss, but below 25 is a sack. So I've highlighted some things on here that really kind of help me out. There's also one on here on blocking a punt if you want to get advanced rules on that. I don't do a lot of advanced rules. I don't do a lot of head-to-head. In fact, hardly any. But the master rules, is a couple of pretty cool master rules that I do like to use in there. I also like to use the master book. And why I like the master book is if I'm doing outside run and I'm in a B index and the defense is playing standard, I like how it's 1st and 4th quarter and 2nd and 3rd quarter. So they're a little bit different. So on this play here, I might gain 3 yards if I'm in the first or the fourth quarter. Second and third quarter, I'm only going to get 1 yard and go out of bounds. I like that. In the regular game, it's just the one column for all 4 quarters. I like how this busts it up. Okay, just about everything here. If I go to this other chart over here, so now I'm on a inside run between the 14 and the goal line here. Again, it's different for each. Okay, and so the first and fourth quarter I get 7, and the second and third I get 4. I like that. I do. So this is the master book. Okay, let me show you the front page here if I can. So this is the master book. So I got the master book here. And I don't use a lot of the master rules, but I do like to use the book here to get my results from. So anyway, hopefully that answered a few questions as far as, calling plays on offense. What else was there? So if you're calling plays on offense, a couple different ways to do it. Defense, a couple ways. I like to use the cards. I think it gives me a great variety. And the idea is I just want it to be fun. As far as, again, I will change this if I change the quarterback or if I change somebody else in the game permanently. But for guys just coming and going on individual plays, I don't change my rating. It just keeps the game flowing for me. But again, the great thing about APBA football, you can pull it out. You can play basic all the way right through. And I think that's what Al does. Al, Red Sox fan. He just plays it simple, and it's no issues at all. And he just has fun with it the way it is. Some other people go crazy with it. They got some really nice contraptions set up that really kind of make the game sing for them. And I'm somewhere in the middle. I like to play mostly basic, add in a couple of fillers here. I can add salt to taste is what I like to say. So I'm hopefully that answers some of the questions there. As far as timing, there's, again, every game does it a little bit different. What I like to do, I got my little timing chart here. So let me show my timing chart. So what I like to do for timing is the first quarter, every play's 30 seconds, except for punts and kickoffs. If there's any kind of return, it's 15 seconds. Okay. In the second quarter, I do the same thing. Everything's 30 seconds or 15 seconds until under 2 minutes. And then I'll go 15 seconds of play because people are trying to drive the score. And it's all the same down to the fourth quarter. When I get to around the 2-minute mark, that's when I get kind of customized. Okay. So if we're playing in the, if we're playing in the fourth quarter and the game is close and the team is driving and I'm dinking and dunking with the short passes, or if a pass is incomplete, I might go 5 to 10 seconds on a play instead of the full 15 or 30, because that's kind of what's really happening. But for the most part, the first and the third quarter, you really want to get 30 seconds of play no matter what happens, because that's going to keep the game moving and get a little bit more realistic. But timing is completely up to you. If first quarter, if every drop pass is only going to be 5 seconds or 6 seconds, you can do that. You can do whatever you want. But as far as timing, every game does it different. Every person does it a little bit different. But that's what I do. I try to go 30 seconds a whack. And then as I get into crunch time at the end of the half in the game, then I get a little bit nitty gritty. And on the OGuard site too, there's a really good timing chart that I was using for a while in the final couple of minutes that it says how long the run is, how long the pass is. Did he get out of bounds? Did he not get out of bounds? And then there's a chart that tells you how many seconds come off the clock. And I was using that for a while too. And that makes it kind of fun, a little bit more realistic as well. But timing, again, timing is really, whatever you want to do. Well, where's my design here? Where's my text? I'm still getting it. So as far as game timing, it's really all up to you what makes sense for you. Al does it 30 plays a quarter, and that's it. And that's how he does it. And that's how he has his fun. Some other people get a little bit more involved. And again, I'm kind of in the middle with all that. So, all right. So let me get back to the chat here. I wasn't ignoring you guys, but I did want to get through everything. So I am excited to play APBA here. Don't ask me why I'm going to play a blowout game, but I needed to play some of that here. And Demi says it's 155 plays on season ticket. Yeah, so everything does it a little bit different. And let's see here. Let me see. RC Tabletop Sports. I play a lot of APBA football. In fact, about to finish week 15 in a 1992 replay. He's a lifelong strat football guy, but recently have loved Goal from Downey. He saw me on Box Goal. Did I ever play it? No, not really. Not really. I got most of the Downey football games. I really did like Fast Action Football. That's a full play game, one of the first ones I played. Mean Gene was all right too. Mean Gene football was okay too. Was it Mean Gene's matchup football, something like that. The goal I didn't care for. I didn't get very far with that. And then there's another one that I tried to play. There was a fourth Downey game, and it just was charts after charts after charts, and it was fun. But boy, there was just too many charts. You could sail around the world with all the charts, and I had so many cheat sheets for that game. I don't remember the name of the game now; it might come to me. But I like my APBA football. I like my Solitaire Pro. I like my season ticket. I like my 49 quick decks and second season. Those are the 5 that I like to play right now. There's a few others I haven't played, but those are the 5 that I like to do. As Charles comes by, and David C. and Barbara Nelly comes by. And let me see here. And Charles is waiting for his payoff pitch to show up. Yeah. I got a couple seasons of that. And 69, I unboxed 69 and 83. 83, I'm going to be playing the whole thing. Not every game, but I'm going to be doing a game of the week with Digital Diamond. And 69 is going to be just playing the Seattle Pilots and a couple other teams that the Washington Senators, things like that. So I'm looking forward to that. Sorry about that. Wife's heading out to do some errands. And Charles says he's got to sort them out and round the corners during the Broncos and Avalanche games tonight. Oh, yeah. Okay, you get dope. Denver's playing, Broncos playing, and the Avalanche. Oh, that should be a fun night. And it's so cold that Pippin goes out just before bed. Yeah. When it's cold out here, CJ goes out on the deck. It's like, turns right around. It's like, yeah, I'm not going to go. And Gandalf says that it would be easy to make a D20 play call for each game with this data. Yeah, it could. I mean, and some people have done that. There's so many ways that you can call plays and identify the players. And that's why I say borrow from other games. One thing that I did, I forgot to mention, one thing that I borrowed from season ticket that I'm going to be using in all my football games is the optional punt roll. I love the system that Clay come up with for the punt roll, where you roll 3 dice and I think you add the 10s and subtract the 6, and that tells you how far the punt rolled. In APBA football, the basic rule is if the punt hits inside the 9, you can just say, I want to let it roll into the end zone. I think it's a little too automatic for me. It takes away some of the fun and some of the drama. It takes away the bounce of the football. So I like how Clay does it, which I think you roll 2 10s, add them together, and subtract a 6-sided die. So if you roll low on the 10s and high on the 6, it actually might bounce backward a yard, or it might die inside the 5 or get downed. I like that. And that's what's fun about this. Each game does something that's really kind of fun, because otherwise, if one game did it all, that's the only game we'd play. So every game has a little quirk that makes it kind of fun. And I like to pick and choose from other games when I play other games to make it fun. So that's one thing I am going to be stealing, from a season ticket. And it was warm out here today too. I think it was 42 and the sun was out. So I took out my dog today. We got a nice little walk in. So that was kind of fun. Anything else in the chat here? And as Kurt Berlin says, yeah, and heads will explode all over the internet. Yeah, they will. And again, I will say this though, the APBA football community. When we've had some of the heavyweights here on the show, and we've had some fans of APBA football on the show, and a lot of people out in Canton when I went out there, I met a lot of the people out there. There's not one person that has given me any guff for how I play the game. Not one person says, some people don't like the cards, and they said, yeah, well, I don't like the cards. I use the cards in this. If you like the cards, use the cards. Some people swear, by this that comes with the game, this chart that comes with the game. Some people swear by that. I prefer this. They prefer this. No issues. No one ever says, "Oh, you're wrong." That's wrong. You can't do that. That wrecks the game. If it's fun for you, play it. That's what everybody says. And I like the fact that even some of the hardcore APBA football players are like, if this is fun for you, then do it. Do it your way. Make it fun for you. If simpler is more fun, keep it simple. If you want to add, your own rules to it to make it more fun, if I want to grab that season ticket punt roll rule, grab the season ticket punt roll rule. So things like that. So, um, the Apple football community has been great, and they've answered all my questions, and they've helped me get this game up and running. And then, if there's something they disagree with, they don't even bring it up. They're like, that's not how I do it, but if you do it, you do it. So I do like that. And and Ron McGrath is in the ER having his chest. Oh boy, his chest discomfort checked out. I just was at the heart doctor today, and they had me all hooked up to the EKG, and things looked good today for me. Today was a good day. Tuesday night was not a good day. So hopefully it's just stress. This time of year, I think I had a panic attack Tuesday night just because I had such a busy week, and then I got time coming up, and I'm like looking forward to the weekend to get through the weekend so I can have some time off for Christmas. And I think I just worked myself up. I did. I think I did. It could have been something else. I almost went to the ER Tuesday night. That's kind of how I was feeling. I didn't have any discomfort, but I was burning up. So yes, we're all thinking about you, Ron. Hopefully getting better. Hopefully this chat, maybe this chat might relax you a little bit. Sometimes when we talk about games and we talk about things that we do, I love watching people play games and chat. It kind of calms me down. So, and could just be ulcers. Well, ulcers aren't good, but it's better than some other things, And Charles says he's watching my Do I Remember Payoff Pitch video, and on the fatigue factors is a different table to roll for patient versus tough. Yeah. Again, I'm still going back. I'm still learning that. So I rolled a patient for tough. I probably screwed that up. Again, I went back to that after a long time. So again, do I remember how to play? Well, I was trying to. Yeah. So they change how they do that now. So I rolled a patient for a tough. Okay, I'll have to go back and read that. So I probably did make that mistake, Again, we make mistakes all the time. Oh, okay, JC, cool. JC, they're over here. So I got my 84 ready to roll. I went to the spreadsheet. It looked like there was a couple of games open. Now, do I just type my name on the left and put Dave G and claim that game? Is that how it goes? And then roll it. I did go to Cards and Dice Games, whatever that website was. Let's see, what was that website? The Cards and Dice Baseball that you go and enter the games with. Oh boy, I bookmarked it. Now I can't find it. But I did see how it looked like all you do is just kind of put in the box score of the game, right? So it's like who's at bat, how many at bats, and what he did, and then I think that was it, right? And it should tally it all up. So I'm hoping I'm gonna try to play a game this weekend. I'll grab one that's open, or I think that's open, and I'll play it and try to input the stats, and hopefully it goes well. But he says, I use some play calling systems for various games. He creates a D100 chart to determine who gets the ball on passes and rushes based on targets carries as a percentage. That's kind of what I was doing, is I was looking to see how many runs versus passes they did in that particular game. The game I picked is skewed because Cleveland was down, so they were probably passing quite a bit. But I'm going to usually go on a 45 pass, 55 run type of scenario. I thought about actually rolling percentile die and figuring out what it is. So if I roll a 22, I'm going run, on first and second down. You start to get third down and long, you got to start passing, things like that. Or you could, just use, again, season ticket football has a great solitaire offensive thing. Solitaire Pro does as well. Second season does as well. So you can borrow from other games if you just want to play it solo and not have to make any calls. The one thing I will say, what's weird about APBA football is it does some things that I don't like in other games. Like in season ticket, I don't want to call the play. I want to roll it. In Solitaire Pro, I don't want to call the play. In second season, I don't want to call the play. In APBA, I don't mind calling the play. I really don't. I don't mind calling the play in APBA. And I try to spread it around the best I can and feel out what's going on in the game. I still throw to my C receivers. Like Tebow says, you got to get the C players involved in the game if you want the stats to come out. You can't keep throwing to your A guy all the time. So I will throw to the C receivers. Now, using these cards here, if I throw to a C receiver, I still could bump that up to a B. So if I roll A on this card, that's going to bump a C receiver to a B. So you're not necessarily always going to be reading off the C index when you're throwing to that player, if you will. So I try to do that. And Charles says, payoff pitcher ride. He picked up Digital Diamond on the sale. Fantastic. Yes, I think you'll enjoy that. And the play field mat was crushed, but he picked up one of Al Wilson's diamonds. Okay, good for that. And what else we got going on here? Larry comes by. Hi, Larry. D. Scott. I'm a little behind in the chat here. And drink of choice, I just went with the ginger ale, Larry. Just Canada Dry, 0 sugar ginger ale. And that's about it. Gridiron, yes, that's the grid. Yes, Daddy Kingslayer, thanks for mentioning. Gridiron football is the dining game with all the charts. It wasn't a bad game. And now that I've played long play games, I really should go back and play some of those Donnie games to see how they worked out. Because, back in the day, oh my gosh, this is such a slog. But now that I played, the 49 Quick Decks and the APBA and the season ticket and the Solitaire Pro and second season, I'm playing a lot of games. I should go back and play some of those games to see if I can make sense of them. I did like the Mean Gene. I did. It was kind of strange how it played, but I did like it. It was like flipping fast action cards, but I still enjoyed it. And fast action football is a very simple version of football. It was very easy to play. Not a lot of variety, but it was easy to play. Although there was a lot of fact flipping. I think on a punt, it was like 7 flips. It was like check for the fumble, check for the flag, check for the block, check for the punt, see how long the punt is, who receives the punt, is there a fumble on the return, is there a flag on the return, how many yards on the return, holy cow, that's all for a punt. So yeah, that was kind of crazy, but you needed to do all that, I guess, in fast action football. But gridiron football, yeah, that was the one that was so many charts. Oh my gosh. And it's hard to say it was a fun game because it was just constant charts. It was just too much. And Randy says he got Cold Snap in second season at the holiday sale. They're very similar games. They play very similar. Cold Snap was obviously the Canadian one. And obviously second season is the American football one. Ron and I played a little bit of Cold Snap, but it was enjoyable. It really was. I enjoyed it. There's a little way to figure out if you get the rouge in there or not. So it's a little extra work to be done for Canadian football, but it was kind of fun. And Barbara says she went to the ER for a panic attack. I thought it was a heart attack. Yes, I've been the same way. It is so scary. It really is. Sometimes it just you're panicking and your body just is like, oh my gosh, So, but that's why I try not to freak out as much about everything. I used to be really bad. I'm a little better now. Thanks, David, for coming by. And Charles says another reason he loves Solitaire Pro Football because you all the averages right on the score sheet. Yep. Oh man, there's so much you get when you get Solitaire Pro Football. You get like 150 pages because it's all individual team charts and ways to track stats and the schedule and the quick play stuff. Mike gives you a ton of stuff when you get a season of Solitaire Pro Football, and you don't have to print them out. You don't get to print out everything, but if you want to play, a particular game or a particular team, you can just keep printing out their stat sheet, their blank stat sheet. And I think he has all the names filled in as well. So you can just print out the sheet and go. You don't have to like log in everybody. If you're playing Dallas, he's got Staubach in there as quarterback and, Dorsett and Newhouse. And it's beautiful how he does it. It really is. All righty. And we're going to wrap this up here in a few minutes here. Yes, anxiety. Anxiety is no joke. Anxiety will wreck you. Yep, it will. I used to be very anxious, and it gave me my chest problems, and it gave me stomach problems, mostly stomach problems. And I've tried to just kind of relax and back off. I used to like, worry about everything. It's mostly due to work. It's like, oh man, if my car's in the shop, how do I get to work? If something happens, how am I going to get to work? And I used to sweat all the time about getting to work. And now it's like, well, if I can't get to work, I can't get to work. I can't worry about every little thing. So yes, the anxiety is bad. Anxiety is a very bad thing. So try not to be, you know, thinking about everything. Things are going to happen that you control. Things are going to happen you can't control. And just, tomorrow's another day. And it's worked for me. I've been pretty happy with, my level of anxiety over the last 2 years. I used to drink a lot of coffee, and I've gotten rid of all coffee. Now I have decaf once in a while. And I got rid of soda. All like the Mountain Dews and the Diet Pepsis. I drank a lot of that. It's loaded with caffeine. I get rid of all that. I still have my occasional Diet Coke when I go out, if I have a hamburger or something like that at a restaurant. But here at the house, it's the zero sugar ginger ale, zero sugar, zero caffeine. What are they? The spritzers there, whatever they're called, the seltzer water, flavored seltzer water, flavored water, Gatorade. I try not to take in any caffeine at all during the day, and that really cut back on my anxiety, let me tell you. And by chance, when I do have that stray Diet Coke or whatever it is I get that has caffeine, you get a little bit of energy. You do, holy cow, look at all this energy I got. It's kind of neat, but yeah, it did cause me some problems. So I think I'm better off without it. So yeah, and like Barbara says, you got to take everything one day at a time. That's all you can really do. So anyway, all right. So that hopefully answered some questions on APBA football. I probably created more questions than I did answer questions, but I did want to get on there and talk about how I do it. So that's kind of how I do it. So when I play, I pull out the teams. I usually go to the Pro Football Reference site. I get my starters. I put my starters in. That's where I get my offensive and defensive points, and I just leave it at that for the entire game. It's nice and simple. I add a few extra players, mostly on offense, not too many extra defense players. My defense is kind of set. My starters are my starters, and they play the whole game. I'm not too worried about bringing guys in and out unless there's an injury. But on offense, I do want to make sure that everybody that touched the ball gets a chance to touch the ball. So I bring in an extra back, an extra receiver, a tight end, or something like that. I like to have 3 receivers, 2 tight ends, and 4 running backs in the game is what I like to do. So I have my starters, and then I have 1 or 2 extra of each, and that allows me to move the ball around and feels like I get everybody involved. That's just kind of what I do. So, and that should be anything else that I touched on here. The offensive plays I talked a little bit about. I like to call my own plays in APBA. It's one of the few games I like to do it with, but if you want to borrow from other games, that'll work as well. And the defense, again, I like to use the cards. That's just what I like to do. I think it gives me a good variety. It gives me a chance to have a bad defense make a good play and a good defense make a bad play. And that's what kind of happens in football. The percentages are weighed on the cards that the better defenses will make the better plays. But again, you can have the odd roll and have something bad happen. And then the game timing, it's really salt to taste. Whatever you want to do for timing is really kind of up to you. So that is that. All righty. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Hopefully that helped out. Hopefully it didn't hurt. But I know a lot of people are asking questions about APBA football. Right out of the box, the basic game is fun and it's easy. Just roll the dice and play. And don't think too hard about it. Just play and have some fun with it. And as you play and you play it, you find, I don't want to say holes in the game. That's not right to say. But you find things that are very generic and basic that could be done a little bit better. And that's where, you go to the master game and use some of that stuff. Or you go to Ogard's site and you find a few things there that you can pull into your game. And it just kind of polishes it up a little bit and makes it a little bit more fun and makes it feel really like a football game. And again, I know a lot of people complain about, the price and the whole bit, but I love the cards. I do. I wasn't team card, meaning individual card. I wanted the team card. Okay. I wanted the team card like you get in all the other games. But with APBA, there's something about APBA having the cards in front of you. I like the individual cards. So that is that. So, alrighty, folks, I'm going to jump out here. I got to get back to work. We have the finals in the morning, so I got to go and get ready so I can film the finals tomorrow morning. So you'll see that here on the channel. You'll see some Friday morning hockey here when I upload it because it's the only place I can put it for those guys. So you'll see some hockey tomorrow that will be from the Friday morning league. And so that's what you're going to find tomorrow. And hopefully we'll catch up with you this weekend. And then hopefully we'll see a lot of you next week if all goes well. So I have some time off and we're going to get some APBA football back on the table. I have another unboxing I need to do that I haven't got to yet. It's a nice big unboxing I'm going to get to. And so hopefully that'll do that. So I'm Dave from Studio B. We'll talk to you all later. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.